Hey YouTube, it's your girl Chic from Chic Speaks. I'm coming to you live tonight. I want to have a real conversation about I want to talk about toxic behavior, and in particular toxic behavior in women. Like tonight, that's going to be my focal point. I do understand that men and women both demonstrate this type of behavior. But tonight, I want to talk mostly about the ladies and the impact that just childhood trauma can have just on our lives, and how it can play out in our relationships. And I want to use, I guess we would call her an influencer, Chrisean Rock, beautiful young lady, like 22. I want to focus on her because there's so many Chrisean Rocks out there. Think about it. How many of us can think of some that we have in our family, uh, our neighbors' kids, our kids' classmates, and we see the behavior, and oftentimes it's nobody's there to really drill down into the why behind why a person is acting out or demonstrating such behaviors. We just see that, oh, they off the chain. Like, listen, Your Honor, lock them up. Like, we just want to focus on the surface. But everybody, I always say everybody has a story. And I've always just been somebody interested in hearing another person's story, because I felt like it helped me to understand that individual better. And sometimes it helped me to have patience, for that person, because I knew their story, and I knew that, okay, they were demonstrating certain behaviors because of something that may have happened to them. But I believe, there's a difference between acknowledging something that somebody may have endured, and still holding that person accountable, or looking for that person to hold themselves accountable. And I think this young lady, Chrisean Rock, she's an example of someone who, I think, she sits in her trauma, and she uses it as the excuse to justify her behaviors. And I want to talk about that because I see that very often, where people demonstrate toxic behaviors, but when you call them on it, it's like, well, I'm like this because, or he did this or she did that. Again, the accountability piece is just out the window. It's like it was just non-existent, never existed. And it's just like, I hear you, sis, but let's get down to the why. How is this working for you when you're continuing to be in mess and foolery, and your end result is never anything favorable for you? At what point do we say, you know what, it's time for us to switch gears, to try something different? And that's what I talk about a lot over here on Chic Speaks. It's the mindset, to develop a mindset to say, you know what, I got to move differently, because the way I've been moving, it hasn't been working for me. And as I'm doing this live, as I was preparing for it, I wasn't in an emotional state as I, prepared for this video. But as I talk about it, there's so many people who are demonstrating toxic behavior, and it's rooted from something. And they're not trying, it hurts to deal with that pain of where the trauma came from. This young lady is an example of somebody who's endured abuse going back to childhood. I researched her. She's done interviews. She talked about being choked, being abused in her childhood. So when you know that, and you see someone demonstrating such toxic behavior, it makes sense. And it's just like, wow, this is somebody who's hurting. And as they say, hurt people hurt other people. And this young lady is hurting other people because she's hurting. And now we see her being with a man who's also hurting her. But guess what? A lot of times hurt people hook up with other hurt people. Toxic people hook up with other toxic people, because that's all they know. It's that safe place, I call it, where you go to something that's familiar. I always talk about like energy gravitates to one another. We often hear somebody or ladies talk about, I'm a good woman, but these men are trash. They always lying. They always this, they always that. Well, sis, if this is all you're getting that's attracting to you, like why? Why is that? We can't ignore the fact that this is the only caliber of man that you're actually acknowledging only steps to you. Like you're not saying, oh, there was some good men and I turned them away. The story is no, I'm the good woman and these men are bad, but they come to me. They're nice and all, but they this, that, and the third. And it's just like, sis, if you're all of that, why isn't a different type of energy attracted to you? You can't say the good ones don't exist, because I know for a fact they do. Some of you who are listening know they do because you know what you are. So again, it's about taking ownership. Nobody want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. We want to just sit in it, and let it fester, and then it results in us demonstrating bad behaviors, and we wanted to just be overlooked because we want to then remind you of, okay, well, let me tell you again about my story. This is what I came from, or this is what that person did. I get all that. When is it time? When do we start doing the work? How many of us see toxic people and we know their past or what they come from, and they're so much better than what they're giving because you've seen it. You've seen them perform at high levels. You've seen them maybe be in maybe have healthy relationships with other people. You've seen it before. So it's like, okay, sis, I've seen better in you. You're saying you're giving this because of this, that, and the third, but I know you can do better because I know you. I've seen you. This young lady is an example of someone who was an exceptional athlete. I used to cover celebrity content, and so one of my subscribers said, hey, this young lady, because I had never heard of her until I started, until at that time she had gotten into a fight with her boyfriend. I guess we still calling him her man because ain't nobody read or nothing about them breaking up. You see her two-piece him about every Tuesday, and, maybe on Thursday, you might, see him slap the hell out, so you're seeing the fights, but you're not hearing about no breakups. You know what I'm saying? Or you're seeing the additional tattoos that she getting added on her body. Yo, the young lady just now, listen, I got the screenshot to show y'all. On August 10th, she posted on her Twitter, yo, look, I'm his girlfriend now. Sis, we got our whole body tatted up with this man. What do you mean now you're his girlfriend? I'm sorry. What do you mean? That's that stuff I'm talking about. It's the mindset. Her mindset, because she's so broken, she's moving like a broken person. And we got so many ladies out here who's doing that very same thing. There's so many Chrisean Rocks. And I think that's why she has such this large fan base, because you got a lot of ladies who see themselves in her, who will easily justify putting their hands on a man. Read the latest incident that happened between them was she went upside his head again, and she's like, oh, okay, well, I caught him texting. He was texting a snow bunny. We know what a snow bunny is. That's a whole white girl out there. That's what he was texting. But sis, is that a justification to put your hands on this man? Because y'all know good and dang well we live in a society where it's a double standard. We as women can do all kinds of ish and follow up with the justification. And for the most part, the world will just be like, well, he shouldn't have been doing that. But soon as a man do it, he all kinds of this, that, and the third or whatever. Blueface even went on live and he talked about, hey, and I may be able to show that with y'all, where he's like, I'm hearing just the talks of just what I did, but this woman is toxic too. And it's just like, okay, you seeing what I did, but y'all can't ignore how it started. You can't even ignore how she two-pieced me first. Like, we want to skirt all over that. And like I said, we women, we got all the excuses in the world to say why he said this, so I went upside his head. It is never justified for you to put your hands on somebody because they said something to you. Houseway, these same people let somebody do that to your child and they put their hands upside of your child because they said something, you finna have a whole issue. You finna start, you finna set it off. So how you think that you can do that because, oh, somebody, mom and said, hey ma, Ray, he slapped me. What? Yeah, I told him I don't want him no more. I told him he was no good and he slapped me. Mama finna straight set it off. But guess what? Mama can damn say something verbal, have something said verbal to her that she don't like, and she go upside his head. You see what I'm saying? That double standard. And a lot of times we don't do that. We don't put ourselves in one another's situation. We just caught up in our feelings. We react and we're like, you just need to deal with it. And I more so see that type of that energy from women, as far as the ones that says, well, he shouldn't have did this. He should have been texting her. But it's never a good enough excuse for a man. Ladies, y'all know that. Tell me I'm wrong. It's never an excuse for a man. Y'all, we will still say it's not an excuse for a man to put his hands on a woman, even when we see that woman y'all didn't see Chrisean's hands. That girl got hands. She ain't no little, she might be short in stature, but she got hands. She got hands. But it still will just turn the focus on, okay, well, what he do to have her, to set her off like that? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, huh? And so I just want to talk about just these things, these obvious things that we don't really talk about because it don't paint us in the best light. But just because it don't paint us in the best light, it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be something discussed or talked about. So I'm on here tonight talking about it. We're going to talk about it. What happened to her? Like I said, what happened to Chrisean? How did we get here? How did we get from this star athlete? Y'all, sis was even on a whole reality show. If y'all familiar with the show, American Gladiator, did the doggone thing. She was doing it. This is all pre-Blueface. This is pre-hooking up with somebody who has likely endured trauma just as she has. That's why it makes a difference on the type of people that you're choosing to hook up with. Because if you know your shit was effed up, it don't make sense for you to be trying to go and hook up with somebody else whose stuff was effed up as well. Like, it doesn't make sense, because here it is, both of you are not knowing how to cope and be and demonstrate responsible behavior or respect for one another when we get in our feelings. So if we both know violence, we both know, okay, well, the house was broken, and we both know, or we've seen violence in the home, or violence was maybe put onto us. That's all we know. So if you're hooking up, you're with somebody and that's all they know, which is all you know, what you got. Y'all finna be duking it out together. And Lord forbid y'all have children, because most of the time they do. What kind of behavior are these children finna demonstrate? I don't know a lot about Blueface's background. As far as I did research, and I learned he came from a broken home as well. As a teenager, he was sent to live in Oakland with his father. He was a good football player, but he was like, yo, I think they say he said it in his music. I was basically being disrespectful to my coach, and I didn't want to play football. I want to be famous. I wanted to chase the girls. He started feeling himself. And right now, what we see him give to this world is this man has a lack of respect for women. For whatever reason, he has a lack of respect for women. And I'm going to go as far as to say, even including his mama, because this young lady, Chrisean, it's on record that she has gotten to physical altercations with his mom and his sister. So men, how do we justify being with a woman who fighting your family, your mom, your sister? How? Like, it doesn't make sense. And that's why I say it's both of these individuals are sick. And there are a lot of people, there are a lot of Blueface Chrisean rocks out there, and they're linking up together and they're hurting one another. Because why? Hurt people. And that's what we're dealing with. And it just creates another generation of toxic people, because more often than not, these people are producing children. Right now, this young lady doesn't have children. She aspires to have children. She comes from a big family. She's like one of like 6+ kids, and she's like down at the bottom. It might be one below her, she said. but she also have said her mother struggles with substance abuse. So that's something she says she finds. I saw her do an interview. I think she did an interview with the Shade Room. Really good interview. And this woman, she has the ability to do better, but I think we're dealing with a situation where she don't know how to, she don't know how to use use proper tools, or she don't have them to use. Maybe that's the case. She don't know how to what can I say? She don't know how to manage her feelings or her emotions. So she lashes out and she gets physical when she gets upset. She don't use her words. That's the thing. She doesn't use her words. She just knows to use her hands. And it's evident that this is how she knows how to move, because that's what was demonstrated onto her. Because as I say in my research of her, she said she was choked out and she was beat as a child. As a young girl, she picked up like, yo, I'm going to LA. I'm going to be a star. So she knew she wanted better. Just as I talk about, I knew I wanted better. But me making a decision to want better, I also knew that, okay, it still started in a mindset and I still had to move a certain way in order to get that better result, that desired result. Whereas this young lady, I think it stopped at, I got to get out of here. I got to go do something. I got to go make money. It didn't go as far as to say, hey, I want to be something different as far as with how the energy that I put out there. I want to be something different than what I saw in my community, in my home. I don't think it went that far. And maybe if she did desire to want to do that, she didn't know how to make that happen. A lot of times, we got this vision like, okay, this is how I want my life to be. This is the type of woman I want to be perceived. But we don't know how to go about doing that, because more often than not, we don't have examples in our life that shows us how to do that. Like, we know it's a thing. We might see it on TV, or from a distance as you're watching somebody like, wow, that lady got class, I love to be, but you don't have somebody kind of in arm's reach to grab you by the hand and to show you and say, come over here, sister. Let me show you how ladies sit. Let me show you how a lady acts, how a lady speak. Those things are missing. So what these ladies are doing, they're emulating what isn't missing, which is that toxic behavior, which is the women going ham. This young lady talks about it, still pains her to see that no matter how financially stable she is, and she brings her mother into her world, her mom still wants to still go back and like go back to the streets. And it's just like, she says it hurts her, that it's just like, I can't get her to basically love me enough, love herself enough to want better. And it starts with yourself. It starts with her mama loving herself. And so it pains her that her mom is still not there. And no matter how hard she's out here working and hustling to create better for her family, because this woman really actually has a beautiful heart, you guys. If you haven't gotten into her, research her. Look up that interview with that she did with the Shade Room. And she got this heart. She's a sweet lady, young lady, but she just don't know how to channel that energy. She don't know how to be like a lady. What they say, act like a lady, think like a man. She don't know how to act like a lady. She don't know. She know how to get dressed up and be cute. But that has nothing to do with carrying yourself like a lady. That's completely different. How many beautiful women do we see out here that move and have such masculine energy and are operating like her? Or even if they're not physically getting with you, they verbally, that tongue is on a whole nother level. So just because you pretty, you got your nails hooked up, your hair laid, your lashes, your face beat, that don't mean you a lady. Because these men aren't even looking at you like that. And I feel like with this young lady, Chrisean, this man that she's hooked up with, he don't even view her as a lady. I truly feel like if she was coming off with lady energy, he wouldn't even come and act like the way he act. Listen, I'm willing to bet he recently, he got a whole baby mom out there. Recently, I guess he was on live telling her like, Chrisean, why you in your feelings? You knew I was still hitting it. Like the lady, the baby mom, she's not a black woman. She's I don't know what she is, but she ain't black. She's not melanated. But I bet you I ain't never heard no cases that he done laid hands on that young girl where they been fighting. I bet you the way he interacts with her is polar opposite than the way he interacts with Chrisean. We weren't hearing about Blueface. At least I wasn't, because I knew about him before I knew about her. I wasn't hearing about him getting into physical altercations with women in relationships. Like I'm just now hearing about this with this particular woman, this Black woman. So I feel like this energy that she's giving off, he's treating her accordingly. Let me say it again. This energy that she's giving off, he's treating her accordingly. So they're matching one another's toxic energy. And no, it's never okay for a man to get physical with a woman. It's never okay. But I'm not going to sit up here and ignore her behavior as well, because her behavior on a whole nother level. Is levels that I know there's women out there that can give it to you. But the thing about Chrisean is that when you're a celebrity or somebody in the public eye, the way you move, it's on a platform, like it's on display. So it makes it seem like you're unique. You're the only one giving this type of energy. But we know, she's not. We got Chriseans in our family. We got girlfriends that are Chriseans. She's just famous to where she's out, she's presented out there, and we're seeing her giving these two pieces. Whereas, we're seeing it on the gram, her giving two pieces, YouTube, wherever. Whereas, in our personal life, we may heard, girl, Tristan got with, Keith again. We heard about it. We might not seen it. And some of us did see it. So like I said, Chrisean isn't unique. That's what brings me out here to talk about it. There's a lot of Chrisean rocks out there. And it's creating this culture, this toxic culture. And to me, this toxicity that we're getting out here, to me, it's like it's okay, the message out here, because there's so many that are giving off this toxic energy to where we're becoming immune to it. It's almost like we're becoming immune to just seeing her fight her man. And even in our personal lives, when we see women demonstrating toxic behavior, talking reckless, using their hands, we're used to it. We just be like, listen, that's just how she is. Keisha a mess. Keisha and Keith, they stuff be on some other stuff. I just stay out of it. We excuse it because that's what we've seen it. We might even seen it in our own household. So to see it in a girlfriend's relationship, we like, oh, okay, well, that's just what they do, and that's not cool. It's not cool for that's the way things have come to be. And we got to call things out. And I want to show before I jump off here, because I don't want to be on here. And you guys can, chime in, drop a comment if you got something to say. I can even drop a link if you want to come up and speak. But we got to start calling these things out and talking about them and holding people accountable and sending them a message out here, in particular to our young people. And when I say young, I'm talking about like people that are in their 20s, teenagers, 20s, maybe early 30s, that millennial range. Because y'all, they out of control. Like they are, we know it, they out of control. But that's all we say is, well, they out of control. It's just a new generation. Like, how many of us have said that? Like, this just how this generation just different. But how many of us have put in work to try to implement change, or to stop and try to find out the why behind why this generation is so different? And I talk a lot about social media. I'll be saying, I blame social media. And I say that is because people like Chrisean Rock's life, it's on a platform. So people are watching it. So you got these young, impressionable young ladies, because we're talking about the ladies right now, that are watching people demonstrate behavior like hers. They're idolizing people like her. She's beautiful. She's young. Her body banging like she's this, that, and the third. And they're thinking like, oh, this is how you're supposed to move. This is how you get a rapper. This is how you keep their energy. You know what? Cardi B had a line in her song where she was like, I think it was who was that said you got to love a toxic bitch. I think it was Cardi B, where she talked about that. So it was promoting toxicity in relationships. Like, This is what your relationship's supposed to be about. You're supposed to be giving toxicity. If you not, listen, your relationship ain't popping. You boring. If y'all ain't over there fighting and breaking up, but that get old, y'all. How many people who have marriages 10, 15, 20 plus years, and that's the energy that they consistently give, and they've just been withstanding that. It doesn't, because it gets old. We get tired. We get older. Ain't nobody got time for that. The older you get, you trying to chill. You ain't even trying to let the kids worry you out. That's why they say it's a season for when you have babies, because how many of y'all know women in 40s that got toddlers, little kids, their patience is shot because they're not in that mental space anymore to be doing stuff like that. And because typically that's why, your body, the way it works, it's a certain time in your life that the body, that's why it's recommended conception and doing things in a certain age range, because it's the way the body develops. It's just the natural way. That's typically when our patience is better, where we can endure more. We got more energy. By the time y'all sis, we getting in our 40s, we ain't trying to deal with that bull from no man, no kids. Yeah, look, you can throw it all, what they say, throw the man and the baby out the window. Throw it all out the window, because as we're getting older, you're settling and you ain't got time for the mess. And that's how we got out here. A lot of these people, men and women, are like, forget it, especially the women. I forget it. I done gave up. I don't need no man. They all, because they've gotten to this point to where, you tired. You like, I just can't. I'm just going to try to make a way and just make a life without them and just do me, because I don't have it in me to try to vet somebody else and to try to endure maybe lying and cheating or whatever. So they just be like, you know what? I don't even want to deal with it anymore. And I don't like to see when women have that, go that route, but I understand. But I think a lot of women, it comes down to, they got stuff going on with themselves, but they just don't want to stop and deal with it. So it's easier to be like, F them all, you can have them all, because they don't want to stop and do certain works that they have. And some of them will be like, well, I know I'm good. I'm this, that, and the third. I done the work. Really? Have you, sis? Have you really? Says who? Is it just you saying it, or have someone pointed out to you, hey, I've noticed the change in you? You know what I'm saying? Really the real tester to me is you trying to get in another relationship and it turning out differently than the previous one. To me, that's the best test to see if you really have done some work and change. So if you haven't even gotten back out there to test it out, how you know? You know what I'm saying? So it's just stuff like that. So let me get into, I want to show this video of Chrisean, and it's just highlighting just who she is. And outside of what we as the media, we mostly see, the toxicity with this young lady, but there's more to her. There's always more to us. But when we got drama going on, that's going to shine more so than the positivity that we got going on all day. Don't they say, like, when you experience, what they say, when you got a business and somebody have a negative experience, you gonna hear about that. That's planted. The folks all on their gram, they going live, they posting comments, calling corporate. But when it's a good experience, you're not really seeing people take the time out to do that kind of energy and put that kind of energy out there. They like, okay, yeah, it was cool. And then you move on. But if it was bad, girl, you finna tell everybody that come before you finna talk about that bad experience. Well, that's how life is. When you're demonstrating negative behaviors, that shines more than the positive behaviors. It is what it is. Whether you like it or not, that's the way it is. It's just the way it is. So I want to show this video, and I'll come back and we'll talk about it. But this is Chrisean. It says Chrisean rocks. So misunderstood. Question, is she misunderstood? That's the question. I hear that a lot. I'm misunderstood. What does that mean? So let me get into this video. Fair use. Let's get it. Hard times. Smoking very I remember rainy days, sleeping cold nights and no. Please keep me in your prayers. I got a camera to see with no help. Last person I'm thinking about is myself. I remember the rainy days, sleeping cold nights and no lights, dark clouds and hard times. I got a camera to see with no help. Last person I'm thinking about is myself.
Short and short, decided to go through the water. Rainy days, no umbrella. We ain't know no better. We was taught what they told us. We ain't know no better. We just bought what they sold us. Long as we got each other. My brother, I'll ride through it. Everything is done if I love you.
So we'll show it again.
Rainy days, hard times. Smoking very well. Smoking very well. I remember the rainy days. Sleeping cold nights and no
Please keep me in your prayers.
I got a fat on the feet with no help. Last person I'm thinking about is myself. I remember the rainy days. Sleeping cold nights and no lights. Dark clouds and hard times. I got a fat on the feet with no help. Last person I'm thinking about is myself. Short and short, decided to go through the water. Rainy days, no umbrella. We ain't know no better. We was taught what they told us. We ain't know no better. We just bought what they sold us. Long as we got each other. My brother, I'll ride through it. Everything is done if I love you.
So listen, this is another side that we're seeing of her. I don't know if I want to say it's another side. We're seeing in this clip, we're just seeing different emotions that she's giving off, or different energies. She's human, just like me, you, anybody else. She's somebody that's going through some things, and she's somebody who don't know how to cope with the things that she's going through, the things she has gone through. Like, she don't know what they call it. I learned about coping skills. She don't have those coping skills to know, hey, when somebody piss you off, do this versus that. Like, she don't know nothing about that. Most of us don't know that, because how many of us running around talking about we went to counseling last Thursday? Like, that's not a thing, especially in our community, the Black community. It's just like, we're so anti-counseling. I got Jesus. I don't need no counselor. Oh, he need the counseling. The main ones, y'all, that be hollering, I don't need no counselor, be the ones that need it. The same ones. How many times y'all have heard somebody sit and tell you about the trauma they endured, and then the next breath, I don't need no counseling? How, Sway? How? You done sat up here and told me all this, that, and the third, and you ain't got no help, and I'm seeing you out here just demonstrating questionable behavior, demonstrated toxic behavior, poor relationships, but though you the first to talk about what you don't need, when arguably you probably needed more than those who you saying need it. You know what I'm saying? It's the mind games that I feel that people play with themselves, because they don't want to stop and deal with their ish. They don't want to deal with their stuff. Why? Because it hurts. I get it. It hurts. It hurts, because when you stop and have to deal with what you're going through, it sparks emotion, and you got to sit in that. But that's part of the healing process. You got to feel it. And people like Chrisean, she's out here trying not to feel. She's trying not to feel. She's hurting so bad. You ever hear some people talk about how they hurt so bad or gone through it so bad, they all cried out. They can't even cry no more, because they built this shell. Maybe that, who knows where rock came from? Where did the rock come from on the end of Chrisean? Because that's not, from my research, that's not her last name. That ain't on her birth certificate. Where did rock come from? Did she earn that name because she's so hard? How many of us out here are so hard, or know people who are so hard, and they're so hard that nobody can get in? And they're so good with it, or they say they're good with it, but they've isolated themselves, or they got these poor relationships, but they just sit in, well, this is my reason why, but they don't want to go and sit in that, okay, the healing, the trying, the fix it mode, because at a certain point, if you've endured trauma, that fixing part, it's on you now. When you're an adult, it's on you. It's no longer on whoever the abuser was. It's on you. And you saying, well, I'm like this because this person did that to me. Okay. But that has no bearing on your healing. That has no bearing on your healing. The healing starts with you saying, okay, this person did that to me. This is why, I believe, or what was going on. And now this is what I'm ready to do to remove myself from that situation, or to try to open up and soften up to allow people in, to allow maybe people who may want to help. You got to go within. And as I say, that's the hard part. It hurt, but that's the part that's necessary for the healing, for the rainbow. At the end, as they say, the storm don't last forever, because y'all notice, that rainbow pop out. So a storm never lasts forever, but when you're in it, it feels like it's forever. But when you get out of it and then you look back, you be like, wow, like I was in that and I finally did the work. I wish I would have done, if I knew what I know now back then, I would have done this work far sooner. But y'all know, listen, we not trying to go that deep. And we as people not trying to go that deep. We not trying to go that deep. We just be like, well, it is what it is. How often we hear that throughout the day. Well, it is what it is. So what, because we just used to sitting in it. So we like, okay, well, on with the next. We live, I'm just gonna move on and hope for the best, or what else? There ain't nothing else out there. All men trash, all women trash. It ain't nothing else out. All of them like this. So at least I'm familiar with this one, with this trash. Some people be like, yeah, well, at least I know what I'm getting with this one. So it might be some bull, some trash, but at least I know what I'm getting. Or I don't want to get out of this relationship because I don't want to start over. How many of us have said that or heard somebody say that? I don't want to start over. I don't want to do all that. I don't want to go through the emotions and having to get to know someone all over again. Again, it's rooted in fear. It's rooted in fear. Chrisean is a scared young lady. She's afraid. She's afraid. And she's struggling. She needs help. And to this point, she hasn't been ready to get that help. And I want to talk about what does it take to get to that point to where we're like, okay, I'm ready now. I'm ready. I can't do this no more. Like, what does it take to get to that point? Is it having something permanently altered to your body? Is it doing time, going behind bars, which we've seen this young lady do multiple times? She just get bailed out often. A lot of times, I think he get her, he go get her, he bail out. Or is it the person's no longer here with us? Like, which is it? How many of us have seen all three scenarios? As they say, it's a time, you got to know when to get out. How many of us seen people be like, wow, if they just gotten out sooner, if I was just able to reach them sooner, they would possibly be here today. That's a lot of people, where people they're just like, we on the outside, like we want to save people, but you can't save people. You can't. And with Blueface, people like Blueface and Chrisean Rock, they could very well be two people that are trying to save one another, because they see themselves in one another. So they stay in it because they're sympathetic or showing empathy of the other one's situation, because, they've had those quiet talks together, what they call the pillow talk, where she know what his truth, what happened to him, things that we may not even know, just as he know things that happened to her. So there's this patience, what they call it, trauma bonding. They could very well be trauma bonding because they both endured trauma and they both feel like, well, nobody's going to understand us the way we understand ourselves. This is a young lady who's got immune to pain. Have you ever heard anyone talk about how, like, people who got a lot of tattoos, like some men, I've heard a man say, like, women who have a lot of tattoos on their bodies, be careful of them, because this is a woman she's got immune to pain, because getting a tattoo don't feel good. Some may say, oh, it don't hurt, but I ain't running around, hearing people run around say, okay, it feel good. You just got some people who got a high, tolerance of it. I don't have any tattoos, so I don't know what it feels like. But I've heard men talk about the perception of a woman that has a lot of tattoos. It's the sign that this is a woman who's gone through pain and who's got immune to pain. And this young lady, she has, I think she says she has either 5 or 7 tattoos of this man on her body. And she said he doesn't have her anywhere on his body. But mind you, on August 10th, she just posted that we in a relationship now, y'all. Mark this date like it was the wedding day, like like they got engaged or they got to save the date out there for the wedding. That's how she put it out there. But this is a woman, like I said, she's so used to pain, so she feels pain in her heart. So she's good with feeling pain on the outside to her body because all she knows is pain. She's good with feeling the pains from the punches. Pain is all this young lady knows. And it's so sad. It's so sad because pain is what a lot of us out here know. And I say us because I'm just talking about us as women. So that's what I mean when I say us, because we're in this together when it comes to that healing to try to help that next person out. Have a conversation with somebody who you see that's doing some toxic type stuff. Pull that young lady to the side and ask her some questions, because it's a good chance that you may ask something that nobody else ever even stopped to ask. People just sat in the judgment part. She like a thought. Why she got all them tattoos on her? Why she got that tattoo on her neck? Like, stop and try to carry a conversation with people. Because I always say, oftentimes people will tell you their story if you stop and show interest. I've always kind of been somebody who's just stopped and showed interest in people, where I'll sit and talk to anybody because it's helping me to understand what it is that they're giving. And then I know how to move with them, where it's just like, because you have to, everybody, you can't deal with the same. You have to meet people where they are, I say. So that means you don't have the same expectations for everybody that you meet. You gotta deal with what's being presented to you and then move accordingly. So if you're being presented to somebody who came from a background like a Chrisean, where there was abuse, maybe sexual assault, any of that, when you're communicating with them, you have to take that into an account when this person is maybe standoffish or not trustworthy or coming off as hard. You got to take that into an account because it's going to naturally impact somebody. And when we don't take things like that into an account and then we just give them a certain type of energy, a lot of times that person, it can have them isolate themselves from people more, because they're like, well, they just sat and judged me. Not one time did they stop and ask me any questions about myself or where I came from. They just sat and judged me. I'm sure this young lady has been judged plenty of times. I'm sure she has. I would say that even from my first video I did about her, it was probably heavily dealing with from a judgment aspect. Because, as I said, I was covering it from the angle of just celebrity news. I'd never heard of this young lady, did a high level of research. But since then, I've changed with how I, want to view her. I'm like, this woman, she's in the media too much. I got to stop and see what else is going on here. Because when I covered that story, that was my first time hearing of this lady. I didn't know there was like this history until after I covered it. And people started making comments like, oh, yeah, this is what they do. And it's like, oh, word. Okay. So then fast forward now, I've done some research and I'm like, wow, this lady is hurting. So let me get out of that judgment part and let me try to look at it from another angle of, okay, let's explore the why behind why she's doing these things. And that's what I'm on here tonight doing. And that's what, Chic Speaks, this whole channel is about. It's just about bringing awareness to things about ourselves that we can maybe change or adjust that can impact the quality of our relationships. Because I speak on building healthy relationships, strengthening families. I'm a married woman, a mother. And so I speak about things from experience. And I can just only hope that my message reaches who the person is supposed to reach. That's all I can do. I can just cue up my camera, hit go live, and just speak a word to people and just hope that it hits where it needs to hit, because it's so much going on out here in this world, so much negativity, toxic behaviors being demonstrated to where I can no longer just sit and not speak on it and share my wisdom, much of wisdom that has come through age, through time, and me also wisdom of just coming from me doing just works on myself, me practicing a lot of these things that I'm on here preaching, all of that. So people can change, people can do better, but it has to start with wanting to do better. That person has to want to do better. And any improvements that I've made in my life has been rooted from me wanting to do better, to be a better daughter, sister, wife, mother, friend, employee, businesswoman, neighbor. It's all rooted in me wanting to adjust the perception or give off a certain perception, because you can't get mad at how you're perceived, because people are perceiving you based off of the energy that you're getting. So if you're not liking how the masses, if you got most people saying this about you, it's likely that there's something there. Since everybody ain't against you, I'm just sorry. Get out your feelings. That's, to me, a lot of times I equate it to narcissistic behavior. It's not about you. It's not about you. And I think a lot of times people make it about them. It's not about you. It's about you being able to do better. And it's not somebody coming for you, somebody jealous of you, somebody hating on you. It's about, this is what you're giving. And if you're not liking what people are saying about you, or if people are choosing to not F with you, you got to do that work and change yourself and do something different in order to yield a different result. As they say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting something different. And we as people do that all day, every day. So until we get that locked in our head, get that understanding, and then act like we know by how we move, we're going to continue to still have the same outcomes. It's just the way it works. It's the way it works. When you see people who are great, guess what? They put in that work. They put in that work. We can look at them, envy them all day long, but those people put in that work. Stop. Show interest. Ask that person, how did you get here? Because that person can maybe teach you something that can have an impact on your life for the better. So that's all I wanted to come on here to say. It's just about bringing awareness to just things, the good and the bad, talking about it, calling people on it. Somebody doing good, praise them. If somebody's not, talk to them about, hey, sis, we need to be doing better. What's going on here? Because this right here, this right here, like, we got to have those conversations, not be afraid to do it, and trust that it's for the better, it's for the betterment of that person, which can ultimately impact their life, the communities that they're a part of. It's a domino effect. The children that they have, or the children that they may have. This young woman, Chrisean, she's not a mom, but she aspires to be a mom. I think she said she maybe want like 5 kids. Like she want kids. Like, and she, at that time during the interview, she's like, yo, I'm married this man and I want kids with this man. Like, she, according to her, loves this man, but it's arguable. Is this love? Do she really love this man? Or is it just, this is trauma? She's trauma bonding with him and she's mistaking it for love? It's something to think about, something for her to think about. I just hope that she gets some type of help soon. I hope she gets some type of help soon. I hope that she gets out of this relationship for good. And I hope she gets to a point where she sooner than later, gets to a point where she's ready to do the work, where she's ready to show her true greatness. Because out there on the internet, there's what they say, internet forever. She has some great moments out there. I can only hope that she taps into that again. That somebody can sit her down and say, let's talk, sis. Let's look at these old pictures, these old videos. That's you, girl. That's you. You did that. Reminder of her greatness. Talk about, okay, where she came from, where she's rooted in, where the trauma came from. Talk about the healing. Start healing so she can do better. And that's what I can only hope for, that somebody values her enough to want to do all those things, because not all of us have people in our life who are vested in us like that. Some people are in our life just for their own personal gain. Some may argue that he keeps her around because she's a, I guess, good look for him as far as with keeping him relevant. When the last time we heard any talks dealing with this man's music? Like, she's a beautiful young lady, her name, she's very popular, but what is he doing? I only hear his name when it's associated with whatever she got going on. Can she be great if she detached herself from him? Can he be great if he detached himself from her? So y'all let me know your thoughts, please. Drop a comment, share the live, like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when I go live. But we got to have these conversations. We got to get the conversation popping. We got to share. If you find the content valuable, share it. Share it with somebody, because it could make a difference. And that's why I'm here. I'm just trying to do my part. Listen, y'all, that's all the sis can do. All I can do is what I can do. And I'm on here doing my part. So I do thank you all for joining. For those who did, catch the live. Thank you for those who, catch the playback. Maybe you'll catch a live one day. But I want to hear your thoughts. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell. And as I say, I will catch you on the next broadcast. Peace.